introduction there comes a moment in every person's life when they stand at the edge of giving up. You've prayed, you've waited, you've cried, and maybe you've asked yourself, Lord, when is my answer coming? You look at your situation and nothing seems to be changing. The mountain still stands there. The pain still feels real. The door still seems closed. But what if the greatest obstacle standing between you and your miracle is not the mountain in front of you? What if the issue is not the delay, not the circumstance, not the people around you, but a truth you have not yet fully understood? Because there is something powerful about divine truth. The moment light enters your spirit, fear begins to leave. The moment understanding comes, confusion begins to lose its hold. And many people are waiting for God to move, while God is waiting for them to see what He has already said. Today we are going to uncover a truth that has the power to transform your expectations, strengthen your faith, and position you to receive what God has prepared for you. Your miracle begins the moment you understand this truth. People often think miracles begin when they feel something. They think miracles begin when they see signs. They think miracles begin when circumstances suddenly change. They believe that once the problem disappears, then they will have peace. They believe that once the doors open, then they will have confidence. They believe that once the answer arrives, then they will finally begin to trust God. That is how many people think, and because of that, they spend years waiting for an external change before allowing anything to happen within them. But that is not where miracles begin. Miracles begin when truth enters the heart. Most people look for visible evidence before they allow themselves to believe. They look at their bank account, and if the numbers are low, they become discouraged. They look at their health report, and if the news is not good, fear begins to rise. They look at their family situation, their relationships, their opportunities, and they make a decision based entirely on what they can see. But the problem with living that way is that circumstances are always changing. One day things look good, and the next day things look uncertain. If your faith rises and falls with what you see around you, then your life will become like a wave moving back and forth with every situation that appears. Truth works differently. Truth remains stable even when circumstances become unstable. Truth does not change because situations change. Truth does not lose power because feelings become weak. Truth stands firm when everything around you appears to be shaking. Many people are waiting for a miracle to begin in their lives, while at the same time allowing fear, doubt, and negative thoughts to fill their minds every day. They wake up and immediately begin talking about what is wrong. They begin speaking about obstacles, delays, disappointments, and failures. Without realizing it, they are building their expectation around problems instead of building it around God's promises. What enters your heart consistently begins shaping what you believe. And what you believe eventually affects how you speak, how you think, and how you live. That is why understanding truth is so important. The moment truth becomes real to you, something starts changing on the inside. Fear begins losing its control. Worry begins losing its strength. Confusion begins to step aside because light has entered where uncertainty once lived. Suddenly you stop saying, I hope something good happens someday, and you begin saying, God is already at work, even if I cannot see it right now. You stop looking at yourself as defeated. You stop seeing yourself as forgotten. You stop allowing circumstances to define your future, because understanding changes expectation, and expectation begins changing the atmosphere of your heart. Miracles begin when truth enters the heart. That statement may sound simple at first, but there is tremendous power hidden within it. Many people spend their lives searching for a breakthrough, while never realizing where real change starts. They believe that if they can change their environment, then they can change their lives. They think if they had more money, more opportunities, better relationships, or fewer problems, then peace and victory would automatically appear. But external changes alone cannot create lasting transformation if nothing changes within the heart. A person can stand in the middle of answered prayers and still live in fear if truth has not taken root inside them. A person can receive opportunities and still expect failure if their thinking has remained unchanged. A person can see doors opening and still live with anxiety if they have allowed doubt to become stronger than faith. The heart is important because it becomes the place where beliefs are formed. Everything that enters your life passes through it. Thoughts pass through it. Words pass through it. Experiences pass through it. The things you hear repeatedly begin settling into your thinking. And over time, those thoughts begin shaping your expectations. Many people do not even realize how much they have allowed negative thinking to influence them. They have listened to fear for so long that fear sounds normal. They have heard disappointment for so long that expecting failure seems reasonable. They have faced so many struggles that they quietly accept defeat before the battle even begins. Without noticing it, they begin speaking according to what they feel instead of according to truth. They say, "Nothing good ever happens to me." They say, "Things never work out." They say, "I don't think my situation will change." Those words may appear small, but words often reveal what has already settled inside the heart. When truth enters the heart, something begins shifting beneath the surface. Suddenly, a person starts seeing situations differently. The circumstances may remain exactly the same for a while, but the way they respond begins to change. They start seeing possibility where they once saw limitations. They start seeing hope where they once saw disappointment. They start expecting answers where they once expected defeat. Truth begins replacing old patterns of thinking. Fear says the situation is impossible. Truth says nothing is beyond God's ability. Fear says there is no way out. Truth says doors can open where no doors seem to exist. Fear says the future is uncertain. Truth says your life is not being directed by circumstances alone. Light always changes darkness the moment it enters a room. Darkness does not fight light and win. Darkness cannot negotiate with light. Darkness disappears because light has arrived. Truth works in much the same way. When truth enters a person's heart, confusion starts losing its authority. Anxiety begins weakening its grip. The lies that once controlled thoughts and emotions begin falling apart because something stronger has entered that space. Many people are standing beside God's promises while living as though those promises belong to someone else. They hear words of hope and encouragement. They listen to messages about faith, victory, peace, and blessing, yet deep inside they quietly believe those things are meant for other people. They look at someone else's life and think, maybe that works for them, but my situation is different. They see another person overcome difficulty and say they were fortunate, while secretly convincing themselves that things will probably never change for them. This kind of thinking slowly creates distance between a person and what they believe God wants to do in their lives. It is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it happens quietly. It settles into the mind through disappointments, failures, unanswered questions, and long seasons of waiting. After enough struggles, people begin creating limits in their hearts without even realizing it. They may continue praying, but their expectation becomes weak. They may continue listening, but they stop anticipating change. They may continue hoping, but they secretly prepare themselves for disappointment. Many people never openly say, God's promises are not for me. Instead, they express it in smaller ways. They say, maybe one day things will get better. They say, I'm just trying to survive. They say, I guess this is how life will always be. They say, some people are blessed, but maybe this isn't meant for me. What they do not realize is that these words often reveal what they truly believe deep inside. Expectation is powerful because people usually move in the direction of what they expect. If they expect defeat, they often approach life with hesitation. If they expect disappointment, they begin guarding themselves against hope. If they expect nothing to change, they stop looking for opportunities. Little by little, they begin living beneath what is possible because they have accepted limitations within their own thinking. Fear has a way of convincing people that their circumstances are permanent. It whispers that what happened yesterday will continue happening tomorrow. It tells them that their past determines their future. It reminds them of mistakes, failures, and difficult experiences over and over again until they start believing those things define who they are. Then they begin comparing themselves with others. They look around and think someone else is more qualified. Someone else appears stronger. Someone else seems more gifted. Someone else appears more deserving. Comparison becomes another barrier because it causes people to focus on what they lack instead of recognizing what has already been placed before them. Many people are standing near hope while feeling separated from it. They are standing near promises while believing they are distant. They are standing near opportunities while feeling unworthy to receive them. They continue looking at their lives through the lens of limitation, uncertainty, and past experiences while carrying thoughts that quietly convince them they should expect less. No, faith does not live in someday. Faith says, if God has spoken it, then it belongs to me now. Many people spend their lives placing hope into an unknown future. They continue pushing their expectations farther away from themselves. They say, maybe someday things will change. They say, one day I believe I will experience peace. They say, perhaps in the future my breakthrough will come. They keep moving the answer into another season, another month, another year, until expecting something in the present becomes unfamiliar to them. There is a difference between having hope for the future and continually postponing expectation. Hope looks forward with confidence, but delaying expectation can slowly become a habit of unbelief. A person can become so accustomed to waiting for another day that they stop recognizing what has already been made available to them. Faith does not constantly say one day. Faith says, I receive what God has already spoken. That does not mean every answer appears instantly before your eyes. It does not mean every situation changes overnight. It means your heart reaches a place where you stop treating God's promises as distant possibilities and begin seeing them as present realities. Many people unknowingly live as spiritual spectators. They stand at a distance watching what they believe God can do, but they never truly receive it as something intended for them personally. They admire testimonies. They celebrate when others are blessed. They become encouraged when they hear stories of healing, restoration, peace, and victory. But deep inside they quietly think, that is wonderful for them, but I wonder if that could happen for me. Without realizing it, they create separation between themselves and the promises they hear. Faith removes that distance. Faith says, if God has spoken it, then I do not have to stand far away and wonder whether it applies to me. Faith says, I do not have to wait until circumstances approve it. Faith says, I do not have to wait until feelings agree with it. Faith says, I do not have to wait until everyone around me understands it. Faith receives before evidence becomes visible. This is difficult for many people because human nature wants proof first. Human thinking wants certainty through visible results. People naturally feel more comfortable believing after they can see something changing. They feel safer when circumstances provide confirmation, but faith operates differently. Faith often walks where sight cannot see. Faith often stands when feelings become weak. Faith often believes while circumstances appear unchanged. A farmer does not place seeds into the ground and expect a harvest the next morning. The farmer understands that something begins happening immediately, even though nothing may be visible at first. Beneath the surface, processes have already started. Roots begin forming where eyes cannot see. Growth begins developing in hidden places. Faith carries the same understanding. The moment truth is received in the heart, something has already begun, even if natural evidence has not yet appeared. The situation may still look the same for a season. The obstacles may still seem present. The waiting may still continue. But expectation begins living with a different perspective. Think about that for a moment. The world says, "I'll believe it when I see it." Faith says, "I believe it and then I will see it." Those two ways of thinking may sound similar at first, but they lead people in completely different directions. One way depends entirely upon visible evidence before confidence can exist. The other way chooses confidence before evidence appears. One waits for circumstances to give permission to believe. The other believes regardless of what circumstances are saying. Most people naturally live according to what they can see. They trust what appears in front of them. They look at facts, situations, and conditions around them and allow those things to determine their expectations. If the situation looks good, they feel hopeful. If the situation looks difficult, they become discouraged. Their peace rises and falls according to whatever is happening around them. This is why many people live on an emotional roller coaster. One day they feel excited because everything seems to be going well. The next day they feel defeated because a problem appears. One conversation changes their mood. One report changes their confidence. One unexpected situation suddenly fills them with worry. When a person's belief system is connected only to visible circumstances, stability becomes difficult to maintain because circumstances constantly change, feelings change, people change. Opportunities change, situations change, but truth remains the same. The world teaches people to place confidence in what they can touch, measure, and observe. It teaches people that seeing comes first and believing follows afterward. According to that way of thinking, evidence creates certainty, but faith operates according to a different order. Faith understands that not everything real is immediately visible. Some of the most powerful things in life cannot be touched with human hands. You cannot physically hold peace. You cannot physically measure hope. You cannot place love on a scale. You cannot see courage with your eyes, yet nobody doubts their existence because their effects become visible. Faith recognizes that unseen things can still carry tremendous power. Many times people become discouraged because they are searching for visible proof before allowing themselves to expect anything good. They look around and say, "I don't see anything changing." They say, "I don't see any open doors." They say, "I don't see any evidence that things are getting better." Because they cannot see movement, they assume nothing is happening. But many things happen long before eyes can recognize them. Construction workers often spend weeks preparing the foundation of a building before walls begin appearing. People passing by may see very little happening above ground, but beneath the surface, important work is taking place. Strength is being established where future growth will stand. Life often works in similar ways. Many changes begin in places that cannot immediately be observed. Growth frequently starts where visibility has not yet arrived. Preparation often happens before manifestation becomes obvious. Faith understands that visible results are not always the first evidence that something has begun. Sometimes believing becomes the first evidence